Allergy season is upon us, and I definitely am struggling with those today. I have heard it said enough now on local podcasts and also just bigger platforms that there's this idea that a lot of people who call themselves influencers actually aren't influencing shit, and I quote. And it really has gotten me thinking about, first off, the source of people who say things like that. Second, what is influence? What is an actual influencer? And thinking about my own journey with putting my life basically out there in this podcast. And so, welcome to 5 Minutes to Learn, by the way, episode 86. We're going to talk about influence in case you haven't gathered that yet. But I wanted to start with the definition of influence. So, influence is, according to the interwebs, a power affecting a person, thing, or course of events, especially one that operates without any direct or apparent effort. There's a couple other definitions that go into, influence, and it starts describing an influencer. So I'll just go to the definition of what an influencer is. One who to that which influences, okay? Influence. John Maxwell, one of the leading thought leaders on leadership, wrote in a couple of his books, actually, I think 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which I have on my bookshelf back there. But basically, a leader is somebody who can influence. So if you can't influence, or if you're not influencing, you're not a leader. As this comment has come up recently about podcasters or people who call themselves influencers that actually aren't influencing anything, my challenge to the people saying that is basically, you're wrong. You're wrong. They are influencing. Make no mistake. As long as there is one view on that reel or 12 views on an episode on YouTube like I've got, there is a level of influence going. Therefore, you cannot say they are not influencing. All right. So my argument that I want to make and basically present in the next 4 minutes that I have left is that everybody is an influencer. We can get into the levels of influence and what we perceive as real influence versus small influence, but the fact of the matter is everybody is an influencer. And I would argue that everyone on some level is an influencer in one context or the other. And it could be, basically, the one context is you're either influencing people in a direction that you would like to see them go, or the direction that you've gone, you're influencing in a, quote, good or impactful way. The other way is that you are influencing people in the opposite direction. You're influencing them in a cause that is the opposite of yours, or you are living as a living example of what not to be and what not to do, right? So influence can go both ways, and I'm sure there's a spectrum of all the ways we influence in between. We can also be highly influential at work and not very influential here at home, right? So we could be, for example, terrible examples at home. So we are influencing the people who live in our household in an opposite direction of the way we're behaving, and we could give all of our best to work, right? Ask me how I know. Ask me how I have that personal experience. Thankfully, not anymore. But at one point in time, I realized that, I was influencing positively in some spaces and negatively in others. And so the goal here and the whole premise of my argument is that, number one, you are an influencer. If you're listening to this, whether you have a podcast or not, if you are gainfully employed, whether you work remotely or you work, in an office setting, you go to the grocery store, you interact with people in your community, you are influencing, maybe arguably almost all the time, maybe except when you're sleeping. So if we consider ourselves influencers, or that we have the power to influence in whatever we do or don't do, that really changes the whole conversation, okay? Don't let anybody ever tell you you're not an influencer. Don't let anybody ever tell you or accept the lie that you're not influencing anything positively. Because I would say if you start to do a deep account of your life and look at the areas where you operate and where you live and you work and play, whatever, you are influencing on some level. So all that to say, thanks for listening to this quick 5-minute rant. I know it's a quick one, and hopefully I've made my point. Really excited to continue to go with this show and have this format and do this on my terms, make these 5 Minutes to Learn episodes, have more guests. We do have another guest coming up here real soon. Be on the lookout for that. And if you got any other ideas for topics for 5 Minutes to Learn that I need to discuss or you'd like to hear me talk on, Let me know. Send me in the comments. Shoot me a direct message. Thank you.